program. My name is Carol, and I'm one of the science educators at Liberty Science Center. And we're going to be talking about the states of matter. But before we talk about the states of matter, I want you to think about that word matter. Maybe you've heard about it in your science class. What's matter? Yes.
Pretty much everything except nothing.
Pretty much everything, all the stuff around us, things that you can see and some things that you can't see are matter. Now there are three common states of matter. Does anybody know one of those states of matter? Yes?
Solid.
Solid. What's an example of a solid? First just tell me an example of a solid.
A round.
A rock. What else?
Liquid.
First that's another state of matter. We're going to answer that. So what's another example of a solid? Yes. You? Most of you, right? Like, maybe about half of you is a solid. My desk behind me, the floor that you're sitting on, there are lots of solids around us. So what's another state of matter? Let me have you tell that again. Liquid. What's an example of a liquid? Yes. Something you drink? Yeah, water is an excellent example of a liquid. What's another example of a liquid?
Oil?
Oil, that's an interesting example, absolutely. So we said solids, we said liquids. What's the third state of matter? Yes, sir? A gas. Now this one's a little bit tricky. What's an example of a gas? Let's see, who haven't I heard from? Yes, do you know an example of a gas? No, it's a tricky one. Do you know an example?
Helium.
Helium is an excellent example, right? You put helium in balloons. What's another example of a gas? The air around us. The air around us is 78% nitrogen gas, 21% oxygen gas. We need that to breathe. And about 1% of miscellaneous gases. So we are going to, let's maybe, are we ready for some experiments? I'm ready for some experiments because we're going to do some experiments with a very special substance to learn about the states of matter. I'm not going to say what it is, yes. No, you can sit down, that's good. So that way everybody can see. And what I'm going to do first, because most of the things I do I'm going to do in front of the cart. I'm going to pour some of this special substance in my beaker, and I'm going to come around by you, and you're just going to make some observations about that substance.
Is it hot or cold?
Well, we're going to talk about that in a minute, but first, let's just talk about what we see, with our eyes. So, what can you tell me about this substance? What's one observation? Yes, sir, in the back.
It's bubbling.
It's bubbling? What would you say?
It's boiling.
Maybe it's boiling. That's an interesting word. What else can we say about this substance? Yes, what would you say? Maybe it's very hot. Yeah, although we can't really
hot.
Maybe. We're going to talk about the temperature.
It's cold.
But it looks like a clear liquid. It's bubbling. A lot of people tell me it looks like hot water or boiling water. So we are going to do an experiment. Because that word boiling that somebody told me, if you're boiling something, then you're starting with what state of matter? Yes?
Liquid?
A liquid, and then when it boils, what state of matter do you have? Yes?
It's water.
What was that?
Water.
After something, like when you boil water, what do you end up with? What state of matter? A gas, right? Something goes from a liquid to a gas. So we're going to do an experiment to see if this substance is boiling. And I have a very scientific piece of equipment that we're going to use. And it's called a boiling indicator, but you might know it as a tea kettle. Now, when your water in a tea kettle is boiling, what happens to the tea kettle?
It makes a weird noise.
It does. It makes a weird noise. It whistles is what we say. So I'm going to pour my substance into this tea kettle. Let's listen. Whistling? Absolutely it's whistling. So is my substance boiling? Yes, it is boiling. So next, we are going to do a little experiment. How many people think my substance is hot? If you think it's hot, raise your hand. Okay, that's good. How many people think my substance is cold? All right, a lot of people think it's cold. How many people don't know? Raise your hand. That's okay too, because we're going to do an experiment to test. So I'm going to start at one end and go to the other end. And if you would like, you can tap the bottom of my tea kettle. Now, please don't yell out the answer because I want everybody to have a tap, and I don't want them to know before they tap. So if you're in the back row, you may want to come forward a little bit so you can do a tap. Yes, come forward if you're in the back.